Yep, no problem. We think that this is the cost of living election, to be honest with you, because people are facing it absolutely doubling in their energy bills, and other pressures as well. So your water bill's going up, your council tax has gone up, national insurance has gone up, everything is going up, and wages aren't keeping pace with that. So families are really struggling. We've announced plans. We would put a windfall tax on the oil and gas companies that would generate at least £600 that would be into people's pockets. In addition to that, we've looked at more grants for that we can deliver in Scotland for heating, and that would be across the board. What we regretted is that what the Scottish Government did with the money they received was simply put it onto council tax. And so we all got, including myself, a council tax rebate that frankly I didn't need because I live in a Band D house. But we got that rebate not as a one-er, not as cash, but spread out across 10 months of your council tax bill. That isn't even going to touch the side. So there is plenty more that the Scottish Government can do and should do. If you take water as an example, we reckon there is almost approaching £500 million in reserves in Scottish water. That's our money. You know, we've paid too much and it's sitting there in their reserves. If you gave every household a £100 rebate, there'd still be £300 million left in reserves. That's something people can practically do just now to get people through a cost of living crisis. The other thing just to mention, I know this is about local government, but I'll just stick it in anyway. My colleague Mark Griffin has a members bill, which is about industrial injury recognition of a number of disabilities, and that would improve people's ability to access benefits and others as well. He has included long COVID within that. I have to say to you, I don't think the Scottish Government is going to back that bill, but nevertheless, Mark is going to continue to pursue this very vigorously indeed. That's not something in the short term. Local government can do something in the short term, but that's more of a medium term thing about recognising the need to put money into people's pockets with disabilities.
Thank you, Jackie. Alex?
I think it's a vital question, and I agree with Jackie. This is the cost of living election. Just a couple of reflections on long COVID sufferers in particular. Lib Dems have already signed up to Mark Griffin's bill. I mean, in a lot of cases, many long COVID sufferers did so as a result of the heroic work they did to protect us during the pandemic, whether that was in ITU wards, whether that was driving buses, whether that was operating other, key worker roles, which brought them into the public domain, into the pathway of many COVID sufferers, and they shouldn't have a financial detriment to that either. And by extension, we're looking at bringing in policies within our next autumn conference in the Lib Dems to make sure that the public sector, because let's remember, in the Scottish Parliament is limited in terms of what it can compel private businesses to do in terms of the workplace because of reserved and devolved powers, but we have the power in the Scottish Government to ensure there is no financial detriment to people that contracted COVID and by extension long COVID in the service of their communities that they were trying to protect. So we're trying to do that as well. On the wider note on cost of living, I mean, this is impacting everybody, some more than others, and it's a particularly cruelly social inequality as to how that is being felt. We do several things. Firstly, and each of our layers of government need to do something. So Lib Dems in the UK government would reduce VAT immediately by 2.5% on an emergency basis, and until this crisis is over. That means £600 a year to every household income immediately. Secondly, we believe that there should be a Robin Hood tax on the super profits of oil and gas companies, because this is a time they have never had it so good, and yet everybody is seeing their fuel bills skyrocket. That could immediately be put to work to reduce those eye-watering fuel bills, and particularly in the poorest households, those on prepayment meters, where those prices are just criminal, frankly. We believe the Scottish Government has a duty to insulate every home in Scotland, again bringing down fuel bills, but improving our climate carbon footprint as well. We also want to reverse the this is a council thing to a certain degree, but will be dealt with in the Scottish Parliament. That's the £250 million cut handed down by the SNP Green Coalition to our nation's councils, which will automatically necessitate either a swinging cut to your local services or a demonstrable rise in your council tax, and that's just something we don't need right now. So and this was not something they needed to do. We have a more generous financial settlement in the Scottish government that we've had since the beginning of devolution. This was a choice rather than a necessity to make this cut. And how would we pay for all this? Well, I think at the UK level, in terms of VAT, borrowing has never been cheaper. And we saw a UK Chancellor in the teeth at the foothills of the pandemic open the Treasury effectively and say to every worker who was being furloughed in this country, help yourselves to 80% of your salary. We need something of that magnitude again, because my goodness, we thought people were in financial jeopardy at the start of COVID. We haven't seen anything yet.